Hello, guys. Welcome to tonight's chat. Glad to see you. Let me make sure that I'm plugged into Twitter and Instagram before I say anything else in tonight's live chat. Let me make sure. I've had some issues with Instagram. So I just want to make sure I'm plugged into them, and I think we should be good to go. Yep, we're good to go. So I see some of you in the chat box signing in and just kind of getting prepared. So let me give you a little bit of a brief rundown of what we're going to be talking about. And let me just say before I jump into what this topic is about, let me just say I'm only scratching the surface when it comes to this topic. So, okay, hold on, guys. Instagram is like, what's going on? We can't connect with you. So let me fix this and then we'll jump in. I am literally scratching the surface with this topic, guys, when it comes to sibling jealousy and parent jealousy. You know, this topic could literally go on for an entire month every week, and we would still have more to talk about. And part of the reason for that is because most psychologists, most psychotherapists, we don't really talk about sibling jealousy. We also don't talk enough about parental jealousy, because it's almost like it's almost like a taboo kind of a topic in today's society. No, parents are not jealous of their kids. That's not possible. All parents love their kids. No parent would intentionally harm their child. That's kind of the mindset that we exist in. But then when it comes to siblings, the topic of sibling jealousy, even though a little bit more acceptable in our society, it's still kind of like, really, siblings don't get along, and they don't get along because they're jealous of each other. So, our society is really kind of flabbergasted when a psychotherapist such as myself brings up a topic about parental jealousy and sibling jealousy. If I'm talking about this topic in a conference, or I'm giving a training or a presentation, I wish you could witness with me the faces in the audience. I usually get what we call a flat affect, meaning that person's face is just like flat. There's no response whatsoever. Or I get a response where the person's kind of tilting their head and looking like, really? And that's because, again, not a lot of psychologists talk about parental jealousy or sibling jealousy. So in tonight's live chat, I'm going to talk about that. Again, I'm scratching the surface. You're going to hear some new terminology in tonight's live chat. I'm going to try to make this chat at least 40 minutes or less. But I want us to get into the meat of it, okay? Because this is quite a subject. Now, let me just throw out just one idea before I go to the chat box and see what you guys are saying, and, to welcome you and so forth. Let me throw out just a term, okay? I usually talk about what's called the drama triangle. The drama triangle. And that's usually, I do have a piece of paper to demonstrate. That's usually the triangle where, there's a victim, there's a persecutor, which is the person who's pointing the fingers, and then there's a rescuer, the drama triangle. So I'm going to show you what this is, just so that you can have a little bit of a visual. Whoops. So we have the victim, we have the persecutor, and that's the one who's pointing the fingers in the triangle, the one who is saying, you're to blame, you're the problem, you're the troublemaker, you're the one who's jealous, you're the one who's angry, right? That's the persecutor, the one who's pointing the fingers. And then there's the rescuer. This is called the drama triangle. I'm going to show it to you right now. Okay. So this is what this looks like. Hopefully you guys can make that out. This is called the drama triangle. Victim, persecutor, rescuer. And this is a very toxic triangle, guys. And the reason why it's toxic, is because the victim tends to run to the rescuer and says, look, fingers are being pointed at me by the persecutor, the other family member, the other sibling, and I don't know what to do. Save me. Okay. The rescuer wants to be Superman and gets involved in the situation, and sometimes either makes it worse by exaggerating things or catastrophizing things, making it bigger than it needs to be, or the rescuer simply has no knowledge at all about anything involving that situation. And so they create more of a toxic triangle. Well, when we're talking about parent sibling jealousy, the triangle happens again, but it happens in a different way. So instead of the victim, I'm going to show you this one more time. Instead of the victim, persecutor, rescuer, see that, guys? Instead of that, now we're going to change those roles. Okay. And this is what happens in a family of a parent who's jealous and of a sibling who's jealous. So here's the different triangles. So instead of, I wish I had a different piece of paper. I'm going to learn one day to bring more than one piece of paper, to bring my charger and everything else that I need. Okay, bear with me. Okay, I'm gonna scratch this out and try to make it understandable. So here's the triangle. Now we're not talking about the drama triangle with the victim, the persecutor, and the rescuer. Now we're going to talk about the jealous triangle between the parent, the sibling, and the other sibling. So this is how this looks. Okay, I'm gonna write this out for you. Okay, so this is actually a real concept. And I think a lot of people could relate to this. Oh, Lord, I'm going to highlight this for you. Okay, so in this triangle, it's called the jealous triangle. Okay, here it is. So this is how this looks. So instead of, here, I'm going to make this better. There we go. Okay, instead of the victim, the persecutor, and the rescuer, now we're looking at the jealous, the beloved, and the rival. See that, guys? So that is the triangle within a family dynamic that includes parental jealousy and sibling jealousy. And this is a real psychological concept. The beloved, the jealous, and the rival. And I'm going to post some research in the description box for you so you can pull up the article and learn a little bit more about this triangle. But when there's a jealous individual, let's say that jealous individual is the parent, okay? That jealous individual kind of triggers a process that causes chaos. And it's typically between two siblings. So the parent is the jealous. The beloved is the chosen child of that dynamic, the one who the parent really likes. And the rival is the child who is disliked. But the parent sits at the top as the jealous parent. And sadly, here's the name of the triangle. It's called the Interpersonal Jealousy System. Sadly, the interpersonal jealousy system is what keeps jealousy within the family dynamic between two siblings and the parent. And the rival, the child who is not the beloved or the liked or the respected or the cared about child, the adult child, whatever, the rival often looks at the jealous parent and the jealous sibling and says, how am I going to succeed with you two? Right? How am I going to go forward in my life in a healthy way if I've got mom and dad against me, a parent who's jealous, and then I have a sibling who's jealous and beloved, and I'm the rival? How do I survive that? So it's called the Interpersonal Jealousy System. Okay, guys? All right, let me go to the chat box. I see you guys commenting already. Let me go back and welcome you. And we're going to get further into this because I want to give you what research says are some major signs of parental jealousy. And I also want to give you some major signs of sibling jealousy. And to kind of wrap all this up and put a bow on top, I'm going to give you some information on what happens to you in this kind of a dynamic if this is you. Let me start with Live Alive. Hello and welcome to the live chat. Glad to have you tonight. Glad to see you. Hello, Jason Z. Hello and welcome. Elizabeth, yeah, glad to have you. it is a painful and yet a very interesting topic as well. It is a painful topic. I will self-disclose and say that I absolutely love my late grandma. She passed away in 2020, and she was the meat of our entire family system. When I tell you that this woman has helped every last one of us in this family, and I'm talking about 15 of us and more, that was my grandma. However, before my grandma became a grandma, so when my grandmother was a mom over my mom was an adolescent, her brother, before my grandma became a grandma, which I think changed her personality a little bit into a nicer person, my mom always felt that my grandma was jealous of her. And she couldn't understand why her mom just could not become excited about the things that she wanted to do. When my mom became a nurse, she told me a story where she became a nurse. She put on her nursing uniform for the first time. Everybody around my mom was supposedly congratulating her, but my grandmother did not congratulate my mom. She said my grandmother took a swig of alcohol and went and sat down somewhere and totally disengaged from my mom. And so my mom remembers that moment very clearly. And if you look at my mom as she's telling the story, you can see it's painful. No child, whether you're a child, an adolescent, or an adult, wants to believe that their parent is jealous of them. I also have clients that I've treated in the past where they've come to session and they've broken down in tears and they say, Tamara, I feel like my parents against me. I've had male clients that feel like their dads are against them. I've had female clients that feel like their moms are against them. And it's one of the most painful things to listen to and to deal with. So, Elizabeth, you are right. It is very painful, but yet a very needed and interesting topic indeed. Kyra knows 144. Hello and welcome to the live chat. Glad to have you tonight. Yeah, glad to have you. Louis S., glad to have you here. Welcome to the chat. Get Noticed with Nikki. Hello and welcome. Glad to have you in tonight's live chat. Yeah, I hope you're having a great day as well. Tammy, I think it's Nicely, or is it Nicely? Hello and welcome. Glad to have you tonight. T Mac, hello. Glad to have you as well. I also see Judith Barrett says jealousy is a big one. Yes, it is. Welcome. Glad to see you back in a live chat tonight. All right, just scrolling for more of you. Thank you so much for that. Get Noticed with Nikki. Why can't I? Here we go. Get Noticed with Nikki. Thank you for that one. Thank you. Ken Warfield. Hopefully I said that correctly. Welcome to the live chat. Woo, my lights are flickering for some reason. I don't know why. It's not raining. So if we get cut off, I'll sign back on. Glad to have you in tonight's live chat, Ken 1. Dina Da Vinci, hopefully I said that correctly. Welcome. Glad to have you tonight. Said this is coming at the right time. Wow. That's sad, but glad that there's a resource here available for you. B, hello and welcome. Glad to have you in tonight's live chat. Says love learning new terminology. Yes, me too. Me too. When I think about these topics for you guys, I look at the new terms and I'm like, yeah, they'll like these. They'll like these. So just know that's intentional. I love giving you the language. Kyra knows 144 says, I'm a lifelong sufferer of this very poison. That's an excellent way to describe it, because jealousy and envy, and I'm going to give you a clinical definition of jealousy in a minute here. Jealousy and envy seeps into that individual's world. And whether they realize it or not, the jealousy and the envy that they are housing on the inside of them then becomes it becomes known to everybody else when it grows, and because it's like a poison, sometimes it gets spread, and you get found out at some point. Dina Da Vinci says, is it normal for siblings who are jealous to tell the family that you are the one jealous of them? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's called projection. It's like I'm housing these jealous and these envious energies on the inside of me, but I'm going to shift it and say, you're the one who's jealous of me. Because deep down inside, I want that to be a reality. And I don't want to be the one who's jealous. I want you to be jealous of me. Or I'd rather say that you house these ugly emotions and not me. So yes, absolutely. Megan Watson, you're welcome, and welcome to the live chat tonight. Glad to have you. Glad to see you. Kat, hello. Welcome to the live chat. I'm so glad you see this channel is helpful. You've made some awesome comments in the past. So glad to have you back. Okay, so that we don't lose any more time, guys, I'm going to go ahead and jump back into the content, and I acknowledge the rest of you as we go along. So let me give you some more terminology, okay, and what the research says. So we left off at interpersonal jealousy system, that jealous, beloved, and rival triangle, right? So now we have what's called the affective state of the parent. Now, research suggests that, if you have a jealous parent, or if you have a jealous sibling, you really want to look at the emotional state of the parent. If the parent has what's called an affective state or an emotional state of jealousy or high temperament, where they are highly offended, they are angry, they are explosive, they are aggressive. If you have a parent that's like this, sometimes that parent can send energy into their children that then causes the children to act out in ways that's not very healthy. And so research suggests that you really want to look at the affective state of the parent, the cognitive state of the parent, and also the personality of the parent. Those three things are very important: the affective or emotional state of the parent, the cognition, the thoughts of the parent. How do they engage in their thoughts, and are they sharing these thoughts or somehow in some way sharing negative language with the children, the siblings, right? And then the personality of the parent is also important. So those three things are really important in determining how the dynamic of the family works. A parent is kind of like the king and the queen of the household, right? If you think of a hierarchy, the parent sits at the top. And if they have the wrong emotional state, the wrong cognitive state, and a very tricky personality, like a narcissistic personality, or they have some antisocial personality traits, that's going to influence the siblings, right? And so if you have a child who tends to be, for example, the beloved child, which pushes you out of the equation, if you have a beloved sibling and the parent is a narcissist, what do you think is going to happen? The psychology of that dynamic is that that beloved child who's probably jealous of you in some capacity is going to team up with that narcissistic parent. And there you have a very toxic dynamic of two. And we call that an alliance. It's an alliance. It's a child and a parent that is teamed up against another family member. And sometimes that alliance is really what drives the jealousy sometimes, and that's the sad part. I'll explain this as we go along. The other thing that research really highlights, and this is a very interesting concept. I looked at some of the research last night and I'm like, whoa, there's tons of research on this. And the term is known as, and the dynamic is called episodic sibling jealousy. Episodic sibling jealousy, episodes. And the definition of this is the jealousy only comes up when there's a comparison. So I'll give you an example of this. Let's say, for example, you tend to be the beloved grandchild. Your grandparents love you. Why? Because you were the firstborn. You were struggling with depression. You tended to be the socially anxious child, and your mom and your dad needed a lot of childcare, and so therefore that put you closer to your grandparents because your grandparents watched you all the time. They loved you. They saw your depression. They saw your anxiety. They just kind of love you, right? They shower you with their love and affection. Your sibling may get upset with that because they're not the beloved. They're not getting that same attention. Maybe they, have their own special talents and wonderful pieces of who they are. but you get more attention in that dynamic because you're the depressed one, you're the anxious one, you're the shy one, and you needed a little bit more attention. So there's the dynamic in and of itself. Let's say somehow there's a comparison made between you and your sibling. Your sibling may start to feel that episodic sibling jealousy because there's a comparison being made. You're the beloved, they are not. You're the one who's been depressed and anxious and need the most affection. Maybe that other sibling did not. And so there's the comparison between the two of you, and then your sibling experiences that episodic sibling jealousy. There's another concept known as dispositional sibling jealousy, where there's kind of like this stable, chronic, internal sense of inferiority. And they don't like you because you tend to be more social. Maybe you're more intelligent. Maybe you're more loved in the family. Maybe you can see things in more of an intuitive and spiritual sense than they can. Maybe you're just a little bit sharper, more sharper, I should say, than your sibling. And so they may experience for the rest of their life dispositional sibling jealousy, that stable, chronic, enduring pattern of inferiority. It's on the inside, they feel inferior, and it's never going to change. This is how they're going to be for the rest of your life. Now, you may be wondering, will my sibling always be jealous of me? Can my parent actually shift and become a different kind of a parent? Well, that really depends on those three things. Remember, guys, the affective state of the parent, the emotional state of the parent. Is the parent emotionally capable of growing past their envy of you? I don't know, right? The other thing was cognition. Are they able to get outside of their thought system? Maybe their own negative self-talk about you. Are they able to escape that and become a better parent? Who knows? And that last thing is the personality of the parent. Are they narcissistic? And if so, you're going to have a lot more of a difficult time trying to get them to change than you imagine, because they are narcissistic. The personality is what it is. And maybe they're always going to be jealous of you for some purpose. Who knows, right? So those three things are very, very important in determining if your parent, if your sibling can change. Can they change their emotional state? Can they change how they think about themselves and me? And can their personality shift? Or is this a very chronic, enduring pattern of jealousy? I don't know. It's hard to tell. Now, what does parental jealousy look like? Before I go to the chat box and look for some comments and questions, let me go through what a jealous parent looks like. And before I get into this, let me just say a parent can be jealous of you for many reasons. It doesn't have to be because you're more successful. It doesn't have to be because, maybe you're more attractive. It doesn't have to be, maybe it's because you get more attention. And it certainly doesn't have to be because you make a little bit more money or you have a better house or whatever. It could simply be the parent is jealous because you get more attention from their own parents than they do. That dynamic in and of itself, that grandparent generation and you connecting and getting along more so than your parent gets along with maybe their own parents, can cause the jealousy. Or maybe you have just a different way that you look at life and you've shared it, and your parent sees that you have more of a deep thought pattern than they do. I'll put it that way. I was trying to find other words, but that'll do. Maybe you think about life in a much deeper way than the parent, and that can trigger their jealousy. Whatever. We don't know what actually could trigger parent jealousy, but we do know that once it's triggered, it's very ugly. So here's what happens. Research suggests that parental jealousy can be observed when you share something and there's an instant, immediate, and sometimes very subtle shift in behavior and in attitude. There's a subtle shift in behavior and attitude. You feel that, right? You could be having a conversation with your parent, trying to share something, and maybe you can sense there's an attitude shift. There's an emotional shift in the room. There's a shift in body language. And now you're starting to feel a little uncomfortable, and you don't know why. You just know you're getting bad vibes from that parent. Research also suggests that success can also cause the parent to feel discomfort, and it can come through in their affect, in their face. They may not smile with you. They may not give you eye contact. They may look down and away. They may do this or sit this way, with their hand over their face while you're talking. Or they can sometimes just snap and say, you know what? I don't want to hear anymore. I'm done with this conversation. You've said enough. That has happened to me in sessions where I've had a parent and a child, an adult parent, I'm sorry, adult child and a parent in a therapy session, and the adult child is sharing something. And I've been in the therapist seat and I've observed the parent just snap and say, you know what? I'm done with this conversation. We're not going to talk about this anymore. You're not moving to Washington, D.C. It's not going to happen. And that's end of story. And in that instant moment of rage and anger and intense emotion, you can tell something's shifting inside the parent. And it's not just because the parent's concerned. It's not because the parent loves the child. It's because the parent can't deal with their own internalized discomfort. And so sometimes you can see parental jealousy in the parental discomfort and how they react, how they respond. You may also see a decrease in your own motivation to do something. That parent can cause you to feel like maybe you shouldn't be as passionate about something, or maybe you shouldn't share a certain mindset, or maybe you shouldn't have a certain energy about something. You may also notice within yourself a decrease in what's known as personal agency. Personal agency, meaning that you may start to second guess if you're able to do something independently. You also may second guess your own intuition, how you see things, how you're perceiving life, how you're perceiving your role in life or in the family system. You may start to second guess yourself. And that's not because you have low self-esteem, and that may not be because you don't have confidence. It could simply be because the parent's energy and attitude and behavior has shifted. And so too has your view of yourself, right? You may also see these kind of parents actively sabotaging, not self-sabotaging, excuse me, sabotaging the situation, right? And we call that active sabotaging. You may have the parent just kind of making moves for you, or saying things that makes you look bad, or saying things that can shift how other people see you, right? So they may engage in what's known as active sabotaging. You may also notice competition. Maybe they're competing for dad's affection with you. Maybe they're competing for your siblings' affection with you, right? Sometimes parents and children work in the same environment. Maybe they are competing with you for a raise, or they're competing with your talent or the way you see the job or whatever. So sometimes there's outright competition. Psychology also says that there may be direct or passive comments that can also show you that they are jealous of you. This is the parent, okay? We're going to get into the sibling here in just a little bit, but the parent's jealousy could be direct or indirect in what they say to you and how they say what they say to you, you may also notice that there is a full a full engagement in the toxic dynamic of the family. In other words, the parent may take a very active role in making sure that the toxicity within your family continues and continues and continues, because in a sense, they want it to happen. Now, here's the definition of jealousy, and I wrote it down because this is way too long for me to remember. Before I go to the chat box, see what you guys are saying. This definition of jealousy is pretty interesting, and I think it's really great. And I'm going to post in the description box below where this definition of jealousy came from. But here's the definition. Okay. The definition of sibling and parental jealousy is an organized complexity of emotions, thoughts, or cognitions and behaviors that results from a threat, right? Maybe you're a threat to them, or a loss of a beloved relationship to a rival. Let me go back over that. Let me break that down. Parental jealousy and sibling jealousy affects how the person thinks, behaves, and feels. And they may feel this jealousy because you are the beloved, or you have something that is a threat to them, whether you see it or not. Parental and sibling jealousy. That's the definition that I like. I like that definition of jealousy. Okay, let me go to the chat box and see what you guys are saying. Dina Da Vinci says, my sister took my wedding venue, dress, and hairstyle. My mother helped her take my ideas and then acted like I was crazy for being upset and blocking them. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're going to take my dress, my hairstyle, my venue, something's up with that. Now, I don't know the dynamics. I don't know the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors around that dynamic or situation. But I will say, I think it's respectful if a sibling or a family member, a parent knows that a wedding is a big deal for our culture. And if you have a certain way that you want to look or dress, it's respectful to say, hey, are you okay if I wear this or put this on or have my wedding at this venue? You know, it's respectful, it's care, it's love, it's considerate, you know? That dynamic is pretty toxic, and I don't blame you for blocking them, to be very honest. But is that the right response to that situation? Yes, in the heat of the moment. Maybe that's why they were looking at you like, why would you block them? You know, why would you block us? But I can definitely see why you would. Okay. Elizabeth says, I wonder if my brother's or sister's behavior is at least a bit of jealousy. However, both of them doing better than me in life, they try to be above me. Well, here's the thing. So here's two different ways we can look at this, Elizabeth. If they try to be above you, they obviously see something in you that's intimidating. That's one way that you could look at that. And even if they may be doing better socioeconomically, right? Money, cars, jobs, homes, social prowess, or social uh respect, whatever, you know, no matter where they are, if you have something within you, because you're the one and only Elizabeth in this whole entire planet of human beings, if they see something that's inside of you that they can't contend with, or that they feel is better than them, of course they're going to be jealous. Maybe you're more mature, maybe you see things differently, maybe your humility is charming, right? Whatever, it doesn't mean that because they're doing better than you, in quotation marks, doing better than you, it doesn't mean that they don't have anything to be jealous of you for, because they very much can, or could, is the correct way I should put that. And again, if they're trying to be better than you, then it's possible that they have some insecurities. And so therefore they're trying to rise above you, right? Because think of it this way, guys, in terms of parental and sibling jealousy, or just jealousy in general, if you are jealous of someone, right, that says that you are insecure in some ways. You feel like that other person is a rival, or they are somehow blocking your opportunities, or blocking your ability to feel confident, powerful and important, right? So technically, sometimes jealousy stems from an insecurity, and so they're insecure in the first place. That's why they're trying to rise above you. Anytime a client or someone comes to me for treatment and they say that their chief complaint, the issue that they're coming to me for, is jealousy, the first thing I'm thinking is, okay, what's the insecurity? Because you don't necessarily have to be jealous if you're confident, right? So something's going on there. So if they're trying to be better than you, Elizabeth, there's a reason for that. Thank you, Ken One Warfield. I appreciate that. Moon Warrior Turtle, hello and welcome to the live chat tonight. Glad to see you. Says, I used to feel extremely guilty and shameful for thinking my sister and mother were jealous. I finally have accepted the fact. Yeah, absolutely. It's a possibility. In fact, research in psychology suggests that parental jealousy and sibling jealousy is way more common than we think. Way more common than we think. We most likely can go maybe 2 houses down or 2 apartment complexes down from us and see that there's a family where there's parental jealousy or sibling jealousy. That's how common it is. In a neighborhood, I'm just trying to give you a visual. In a neighborhood of families, you can guarantee that 1 to 2 families in that neighborhood is probably dealing with parental jealousy or sibling jealousy. That is how common the research says that this is. The issue is psychology knows that it's a common issue, but the rest of the world does not, because we don't talk about it, do we? So to the rest of the world, it's like, oh no, this is taboo. There's no way the parent can be jealous. There's no way the sibling is jealous of their other sibling to the point of wanting to destroy them. And that is incorrect. Yes, there is. There's tons of families like that. I get most of them because I'm a child, adolescent, and family therapist. So I see it every day, all day, day in, day out, you know? And I see about 63 to 65 clients a week, plus or minus a few cancellations. During my entire week of seeing about 60 plus clients or less, do I see jealousy in the parent towards the child, or do I see siblings who are jealous of each other? Yes. At least 7 to 8 families where this is happening. Mama Lena, hello and welcome. Glad to have you back in tonight's live chat from Germany. My dad has German roots. My brother can speak German very fluently. I can't grasp German. Spanish, not a problem. Trying to speak German, no. B says, how does the rival survive? Well, that's a whole other live chat, B. But I will say this, the first step to surviving a jealous parent and a jealous sibling is to acknowledge that this is happening to you. It's hard to heal from something and to start a journey of awareness when you don't accept that this is happening. Once you acknowledge it and confirm it to be true, then that's the first step. And I don't want to sound like an addiction commercial, because that's what I feel like I'm sounding like. But I think what I'm trying to say is acknowledging that, okay, this is happening to me. Here's the signs, here's the behaviors. If it quacks like a duck, it is a duck, looks like a duck, however they say that saying. I need to accept that this is happening, and then I can move forward. I once saw a client, 25 years of age. I'm going to say about maybe 8-9 years ago. This client was, 25, just started her law school career, and she was doing fantastic in law school. You know, just her life was really taking off in a great way. And sadly, her mom was just not very happy for her. She did not want her daughter to be an attorney. One of the reasons why, and this is important for you guys to know, is it was cultural. The African culture is sometimes very hesitant to put women in a position, not all African cultures, but there are some, to put women in a position of authority and power. And so this particular African family, they just were not okay with it. And so she was seeing me for therapy so that she can become more confident in her role as an attorney. The way that she survived her mother's jealousy was by acknowledging this is happening. It's not so much that my mom is trying to follow the cultural norms by telling me not to become an attorney. The reality for her was that mom was afraid that she would be the powerhouse in their family, because they were all, she had 7 siblings. The family dynamic was a mess, and she was the only sibling that rose to the top and became a powerful figure. And so mom's jealousy came through clear as day. And she spent every session crying. So she survived, B. That's what I'm trying to get to. She survived by acknowledging and accepting that this is what was happening to her. Okay, let me continue on, guys. Fairy Girl, hello and welcome to the live chat. Glad to see you. Fairy Girl says, use their own energy to counter their intentions. Wow. Yeah. I'm going to come back to that because I have something about that coming up later on. Joe, hello and welcome to the live chat. Glad to see you in tonight's very active live chat. There's a lot of you on, and I think that tells me quite a bit, which is that parent jealousy, sibling jealousy is a thing. It's a thing. So glad to see all of you here. Joe says, hey, Tamara, great to get you live. Glad to have you. Wonderful. Says always get so much out of them. Thank you so much for that. Do you think that if you have an older sibling who became jealous when you came along, then that jealousy stays with them? Sometimes research in psychology, Joe, says that, once jealousy kind of gets a root, if you know how weeds kind of take root, I have a garden where everything looks fantastic and I look around and there's a root and there's a weed and I'm like, ugh, I just pulled you up last week. Why are you back? You know what I mean? So for those of you who are gardeners, my frustration, I chop them down, I cut them down, I use bleach on them, I use boiling water, I use Dawn dish soap, I use 30% vinegar. I do everything I can. I went broke in Lowe's and Home Depot just trying to get rid of these weeds, and nothing has worked. I've chopped them down. I've done everything. Jealousy can be like that sometimes, guys. A parent can address that sibling's jealousy and say, we're not doing that. You're not going to be jealous of your sibling. A parent can also kind of, quote unquote, reprimand themselves, take themselves to therapy, sit in front of a therapist and ask, why am I jealous of my own child? All of that can happen. And still, if that jealousy has taken root, it can be really hard to disrupt it. Really hard to disrupt it. And that's because, like a weed, jealousy can take root and it is hard to shake it. It is hard to arrest it. For those of you who have siblings who are jealous of you, I'm sure you can relate to the idea that that sibling can sometimes be really wonderful. And yet on the other side, they can be very mean and ugly to you. It's such a perplexing and complex dynamic, right, guys? Because maybe you love that sibling and you guys get along so well any other time. But then something else can happen, right? Something shifts. That could be a thought, an attitude, woke up on the wrong side of the bed, mom and dad divorced, the family dynamic shifted, today's a rainy day. It could be anything. And your sibling shifts into their jealous mode on you. And you don't know how to come back at it because just yesterday you guys were holding hands, for lack of a clinical term. So once jealousy, Joe, takes root, it can be really, really hard to disrupt it. Very hard. And my 15 years of experience in the field and dealing with this, and also acknowledging and identifying this in my own extended family, who I can tell you, it's not easy to get rid of it. Louis S. says, do you call out a covert narc jealous sibling to others? Because mommy is too controlled. Well, it depends on the dynamic, Louis S. It depends. If you have a narc, okay, I'll put it this way. If you have a clinically narcissistic sibling, and I'm making a distinction because I don't want that typical everyday, you're a narcissist and you're a narcissist and that person's a narcissist to get in the way of this conversation. So let me be clear and say, if there's a clinical narcissist in your family, a narcissist who is grandiose, unable to take criticism, very controlling, very insecure, mean, angry, judgmental, critical, the list goes on. That's the clinical definition of a narcissist. If they have all those characteristics, don't call them out because you're going to get nowhere. It's going to become a battle of the wits. It's going to become an undercurrent, ugly battle. And in some really prestigious families, I've seen the dynamic change from hush, hush, you're a narcissist. Let's not call out the jealousy. Everything is calm. until that individual calls out the jealousy. I've seen these families in session where once you call out that narcissist and say, you're jealous of me, then the ball gets rolling. And it can either be a covert or hidden or very indirect and passive attempt at destroying you, destroying how other people see even you, or it can become even as, what's the word I'm looking for, as nonsense as this sounds. Sometimes it can become a legal battle. I've had situations where a parent has called out the other parent's narcissism, and next thing you know, here's a court order to show up for child support. Has nothing to do with the jealousy that was called out or the attitude or the narcissism, but they're going to use that to get back at you. So I guess what I'm saying, Louis S., is if you have a clinically narcissistic sibling, do not call out the jealousy. The best way to deal with a narcissist who's jealous of you is to take the low road and just don't engage. Because they're unstable, not because you're afraid, not because you're a coward, not because you need to hide, but this is about the other person. You're consider yourself the psychologist in this situation. Don't call out the patient who is going to react in a very difficult way. Okay, that was my long-winded answer. I hope that made sense, Louis S. All right, we're going to keep going. Then I'm going to get back into the content so you guys can learn what are the behaviors and characteristics of the jealous sibling. We've already talked about the jealous parent. Now we're going to talk about the jealous sibling. I'm going to give you a bullet point list of what they look like. It's been cold lately. Thank you so much for that sweet comment. Glad to have you. I'm glad you can make it as well. Welcome. Okay, Dina Da Vinci is responding to someone. I'm gonna make sure I get all of you here before I take a break and go back to the content. Precious Joel, hello, welcome. Glad to have you back in tonight's live chat. Sincerely, a Florida girl. Oh my God, my brother would love that. Welcome to the chat. Glad to have you. Says, what if you don't like your mother because she is obsessed with you? She thinks that I am her and I am not. It really upsets me, makes me uncomfortable, always saying you're just like me, I am not like her. Well, I don't know if that's a jealous parent, but I can say that says that either mom is projecting onto you, and I don't know the dynamics, so forgive me if I'm coming at this in a way that's uninformed, because I'm not really sure of the dynamic, but just based on what you've told me, I can say that maybe that's a projection, or maybe mom wants to be you. Or maybe mom's jealous of you in a way and she wants to be you, or she wants you to be like her because then it's a compliment to her. Who knows? But there's something definitely going on there. Okay. HB, thank you so much for that. Says, God bless you. This live is coming at the right time. Thank you so much. God bless you too. And so glad to have you in tonight's live chat. Glad this is helpful. Susan Bostic, hello and welcome. Glad to have you. Says, good evening. Looking forward to more about this topic. Thanks. Yes, you're welcome. This is a topic we can talk about for a whole entire month. Yanni Body TV, hello and welcome back. Says, I hear some people make better grandparents than parents. Yes, they do sometimes. Yep, absolutely. That's my grandma. Courtney Fraser, hello and welcome. Glad to have you back in tonight's live chat. Okay, Erica Gardens, hello, welcome. Glad to have you back. Glad to see you. Cam, hello and welcome. Says, looking forward to this one. Thank you as always, Tamara. You're welcome. Ken One Warfield says, real talk, Tamara. So glad that you're able to relate to this. Yeah. Sad that you can relate to this, but glad that it's making some sense. Judith Barrett says, coalition, perfect term. Yeah, it's a coalition, right? Sometimes that jealous sibling, jealous parent becomes a coalition. It's like a political relationship. They have something like this between the two of them, and it's hard to disrupt it. It's hard to disrupt it. Royal D, welcome to the chat. Glad to see you back. I think I saw you last time. If not, forgive me. I'm glad to see you, though. Lauren Knight. Let's read Lauren Knight's comment, and I'm going to give you what the jealous sibling looks like. Lauren Knight says, She tried to gaslight me and say, I'm not sure who that is because I think we started later. I missed a part of this. But this says she tried to gaslight me and say, you don't have the legal right to read those messages. Mom didn't grant you permission to look at them. Did I miss a comment earlier? Maybe. I'm sorry. Okay, maybe I missed something. I don't know. Laura Knight, I may have to come back because I don't see the other part of that. I'm sorry about that. I don't want to confuse anyone. I've already confused myself. Okay. I'll come back to you, Laura Knight, or if you could clarify for me, that would be great. Okay, let's talk about the jealous sibling and what that looks like. We're definitely not going to wrap up at 6:30 like I was hoping. Okay, here we go. Ready, guys? A jealous sibling. So psychology is a little bit more open to the dynamic of having a jealous sibling than the jealous parent. Because the jealous sibling makes a little bit more sense, right? Because there's something known as the resource contender. The resource contender, and that's another sibling who, in the parent child dynamic, has to kind of contend for resources. So let's say, for example, you are the firstborn child, or we'll turn it the other way. Your sibling who is jealous of you is the firstborn child. They were born when the parent was 18. The dad was there for them. Mom was there for them. Mom and dad seem to have done a lot more, or a lot less, I should say, with them than you. So the dynamic is this. Let me clarify. The dynamic is your older sibling had two young parents at 18. So life for them is strictly going to be very different for them than it would be for you and maybe your younger siblings. My family is kind of like that. I'm the middle child between two boys. My older brother had a different lifestyle with my mom than I did. When I came along, my mom was like, we're going this direction. I know who I am. I know what I want to do with my daughter. And then when my younger brother came along, she said the same thing, right? There's even some things that my younger brother has that I don't have because of that dynamic. So let's say this is you. Your older sibling then becomes a contender. And they're becoming a contender with you as the beloved, or as the younger sibling who's getting a different lifestyle. Your older sibling has to contend with you for resources, because now the parents that you share may appear to treat you differently than them. So that older sibling, which you may even be the older sibling, I don't know, is the one who becomes jealous of the younger sibling, because they become a contender to you. They are a resource contender. So if you have an older sibling who has a different lifestyle than you do, then that older sibling is likely to become jealous of you. They are also likely to become jealous of you as the firstborn child because of how they perceive their role in the family. And their role in the family may be the parentified child, the caregiver, the guardian, or the disciplinarian. I'm sure you guys can relate to that. You have an older brother, maybe somehow he kind of stepped over his line as a sibling and kind of reprimanded you, told you couldn't do or say certain things, maybe would step in and be a parent until mom and dad got back from work, from the grocery store, whatever. That older child then becomes what's called a resource contender. They almost have to contend with you for the resources that you have that they don't have. So sometimes jealousy gets stirred up that way. A jealous sibling may also be upset because they have to hold a certain mentality in the family dynamic that maybe you don't have to hold. So maybe they have to be the sibling who is the more responsible one, the more serious minded one. Maybe they're the sibling who doesn't really get much attention or much love and affection, and you do, or your younger sibling does, right? Or we can flip that around and say maybe you're the sibling who doesn't get the love and affection, but you're doing better in life. And so they're jealous of you for that. Or you have a different mindset, or you approach things differently. And so then your sibling is jealous of you because of that. There's also a concept known as perception of differential parenting. I'm going to break that down. Perception of differential parenting. And basically, with that statement or term actually means is that your sibling has not become jealous of you because the parent has a different parenting with you than with them. So maybe your parent treats your other sibling differently than you. And so that other sibling now hates you or now has put you in a position to be inferior or to feel inferior, or maybe they've beat up on you. Maybe they've called you names. Maybe they've sent some very ugly messages to you. Maybe they have also, in some ways, stolen from you, taken a job from you, taken a position from you, taken a certain status in the family away from you. Maybe they've stolen whatever from you and it's hurt you deeply. They don't care, right? Because they don't feel beloved. They feel like you're a rival to them. And so if they have a different perception of how your parent treats you versus them, then they are likely to become jealous of you. So the perception of differential parenting, maybe the parenting over them was way different than it is with you. Maybe the expectations are different, the roles are different, the responsibilities are different, the expectations. And so therefore your sibling becomes jealous of you. The other thing is your sibling may be jealous of you because they have a negative perception of their own role in the family. Maybe in some ways you are better than them. I hate to say that because you don't ever want to lord over anyone, right? Or feel better. But sometimes it is what it is. Maybe you have different genes or different parents, right? Maybe you're half siblings. You come out a little bit different than them. And so now they're jealous of you. So, research suggests in psychology that some of these things can cause parental jealousy. And it doesn't have to always be that they're more successful than you. So, why are they jealous of me? It doesn't have to be that. It could be you think different, you feel different, you're more of an empath than them. You care about other people. Maybe you are more intelligent, whatever. Research suggests that parental jealousy can be triggered at any time for any reason, and it can be really, really difficult to unwire or unwind. Once that jealous sibling kind of runs their coils around you so many times and you get wrapped up in their chaos, it's hard to unwire that and come out of that. So what happens to you though? What happens to you? For those of you who want to learn a little bit more about sibling jealousy, I'm going to post my previous 2 videos in the description box once this wraps up so that you can watch those videos on sibling jealousy. I give you a lot more information in those videos than I just did on sibling jealousy. So what happens to you? Mom and dad is jealous of you. Mom's jealous of you. Dad's jealous of you. You have a jealous sibling. You feel like it's 3 against 1. It's 3 against you, mom, dad, and your sibling. So how does this impact you? Research backs a lot of what I'm going to bring up. And here's the first way that it impacts you. You may find that there's an inability to establish or maintain high quality relationships. When someone is jealous of you, somehow, in some way, their poison can seep into your own mind, into your own heart, and sometimes into the way that you act or behave. So you have a jealous brother. He doesn't like you. He's made it very clear. But it's not that he doesn't like you because you're not a good person. He doesn't like you because he's intimidated by you, right? So he's rude, he's disrespectful, he's cold, he's uncaring. And what he does to you is at every family gathering or every family event, somehow he makes his way over to you and he offends you in an indirect way. He just does it over and over again. I once had a client who would come to session with her brother. We would sit and talk about various things. It looked like the siblings were getting along, and boom, brother dropped something. And now the other sibling is like, what just happened here? So my one client, I saw them years ago, over 9 or 10 years ago. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm going to be very honest. I was very, very new in the field. I think I'd been a therapist for a year, and I had this really difficult family in an agency, and I needed a lot of help in navigating them. And I can honestly say I made some mistakes in just trying to counsel them because the dynamic was so thick with chaos. But so the sister, okay, we were all having a conversation about what the sister wanted to do when she graduates from college. The brother, we're all laughing, we're giggling, everybody's kind of relaxed, and we've kind of worked through some things. They hugged each other, cried it out, we laughed a little bit. And as I opened the door to say, "Have a good night, guys," the brother turns around and says to me, "I'm going to have a good night, but I don't know about this alcoholic." And the sister just, her face just was like, "What?" And that was his indirect way of shooting at her. I'll put it that way, for lack of a different word. He wanted to take a shot at her, and he did. And it's like, what switched in a 45-minute time frame of a session? What changed at the end there? I don't know. Did she laugh a certain way that made you jealous of her, and you wanted to make her sad? Does she look too nice for you today? What is it? Is it something she said? What triggered this? He had to say something to hurt her. And so sadly, that young lady, she went on to see me for the next 3-4 years. And sadly, as you may have experienced in your own life, this young lady had an inability to maintain high quality relationships. Why? Because every time she would get into a relationship, she would see herself as an alcoholic. And that made her feel insecure even more. And so she never could have a relationship that put her at a certain level. She always chose relationships that were beneath her. So there's an inability to establish or maintain high quality relationships. There's also something known as romantic relationship distress. And you can start to fall victim to that. So you want to date people who are at your same level. You want to find somebody who loves you unconditionally and cares about you. But somehow on the inside of you, there's been planted by your sibling and parents' jealousy a seed that you are not worthy. So when you don't feel worthy, then you don't seek out relationships that are at a certain level, right? You kind of, what do they say? Water seeks its own level. So you kind of go out and you seek that level that you're comfortable at based on the simple fact that you have little to no self-esteem. So having a jealous parent means possibly causing a lot of insecurity on your part. We're going to get into that in a little bit too, briefly, but it causes insecurity. And so you're not going to find a romantic partner that's at your same level or that you should rightly be with, because you're going to fall victim to romantic relationship distress, arguing, fighting, domestic violence, accusations, jealousy in your own relationship, a fear of that other person cheating on you, maybe not getting married for fear of abandonment. It's likely to be a roller coaster. You may also experience relationship ambivalence. Do I want this or do I not? Do I want to be married or do I not? Do I want children or do I not? Am I a worthy partner? Am I not? Am I faithful as a partner? Am I not? Am I a good friend? If I am, what does that look like? There's going to be a lot of ambivalence, and what we call polarized viewing of the situation. You're going to have a polarized view. It's a cognitive distortion. It's a skewed way that you are perceiving who you are and perceiving relationships. And so you're going to have a polarized view, a black and white view, a one-sided view, and it's going to create relationship ambivalence. The other parts of this, okay, guys, is how is this going to impact you, having a jealous parent, a jealous sibling in terms of family? Well, you begin to experience what's called internalization of early family behaviors, or of an early family environment. Internalization of early family behaviors or early family environment, meaning that in a family where there's parental jealousy, sibling jealousy, let's say, for example, your sibling doesn't want you, he's jealous of you, you're the newborn, he throws things in your crib, he pushes you, he treats you bad, he wrestles you, he doesn't know when to stop, he does all kind of bad things to you, right? You've experienced this for many years over the years because your sibling is jealous that you were there in the first place, that you were born in the first place. So you've experienced this. What happens after so many years of experiencing that sibling jealousy, that toxicity? What do? You internalize. You internalize. And so when you internalize that early environment of jealousy and envy, then it makes it really hard for you to develop a correct perception of yourself. Your values may get thwarted, and you may find yourself once again, ambivalent about relationships. Self-esteem. Self-esteem is also another area where you get hit. Self-esteem is, according to research, constructed through early childhood experience. So if you were born into a jealous family, or a dynamic where your sibling's jealous and your parent is jealous, and you're now constructing your self-esteem based on how they treat you, it's not going to be great as you get older, right, guys? Because you're going to start seeing yourself in a way that's not healthy or fair to you. And you're also going to create what's called an internal model. An internal model of yourself. It's going to be skewed. You're going to see you're going to see yourself in ways that's unhealthy or not correct. You're going to have a skewed perception of you. Who are you? It's going to be skewed. All right, guys, let me go to the chat box. I'm going to read your comments, answer your questions, and we're going to wrap up. There's quite a bit of people on here tonight, and I think it's because a lot of you can relate. And that's the sad part. Usually when I do these live chats on the weekend, I'm looking at the chat box where I see the number of people who are live. And when there's topics about parent jealousy and sibling jealousy, or parent-child dynamics, I see a lot of people, and that's sad. Skylar Black, well, welcome to the chat. So glad to have you live tonight. Glad to see you. Moon Warrior Turtle says, they demean your appearance, withhold compliments, minimize accomplishments, comparisons, etc. Yes, they do. If you remember at the very beginning of this live chat, I stated that if you have a parent who is emotionally unstable, they have negative thought patterns, and they have a personality that's very difficult, temperamental, the list goes on, it's likely that they are going to engage in incorrect or inappropriate relationships with you. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. Okay, let me keep moving, guys. Skylar Black says, once again, my siblings are always projecting and they're copying me. Yeah. I was the kind of little girl who would get so frustrated with people who would copy me. I don't know why. I would get so frustrated. My attitude, my mom jokes about this all the time. She calls me meme. She's like, meme, you never liked people to copy you. And I'm like, no, I don't. I still don't. Even as a therapist and as an adult. And my mom's like, when you were younger, you didn't like when other kids would dress like you, or other kids would act like you, or other kids would, have things that were similar to yours in their homes. And my attitude at that time, Skylar, was get your own style, and I didn't like the edge of jealousy that I sensed, So, my mom told me something that was kind of powerful at the time. See it as a compliment. They're wanting to be like you. See it as a compliment. So Skylar Black, see it as a compliment. Get Noticed with Nikki says, I believe more now than ever that my family doesn't want me around. Very sad. Very sad. What I would do, this would be my honest suggestion. I would juggle the pros and the cons of engaging with them. Should I continue to engage with them? Should I not? And then I would also juggle, is this true, or am I misinterpreting this situation? Just to make sure. Annie Welker, hello and welcome to tonight's chat. Glad to have you always. Cam says, you shouldn't be getting that much money, was said to us. That gave me jealousy vibes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Those kind of comments, the minute you start feeling like something's off, something's off. Something's off. Okay. I have so many comments here and I'm far behind. So bear with me, guys. Sun and Sunflower says, hi, Tamara. Hello, everyone in the live chat. Hello and welcome. Always glad to see you as well. Megan Watson, hello and welcome to the live chat, says, what is the opposite emotion of jealousy? Is it shame? Does that drive and sustain jealousy? Well, I don't know per se what the opposite emotion of jealousy is, but what I will say is this, that, what I've learned in psychology and what research is showing us is that anger is often at the foundation of jealousy. So you may find a person angry with you because they're jealous of you. It doesn't always mean that they're actually angry with you. They're just jealous, and anger tends to be the issue. What I do with jealous individuals who come and see me for therapy, and I'm going to be honest, jealous people trigger me, because my mindset has always been, don't allow jealousy to drive evil behaviors. Just don't do it. It's one thing to want to be like someone, and it's another thing to want to harm them and destroy them. So I don't like that kind of jealousy. That's not okay. But if I have somebody in my office who is coming to me for jealousy, I have them, and this is not my idea, it's a technique that I stole from the field of psychology, but I have them draw an iceberg with a water line. And at the top of that iceberg, I say, what emotion do you show for the most part? And sometimes the individual will say anger, shame. I blame people. I scream and yell. I slam doors. Anytime my brother triggers me, I roll my eyes. Those are all the things I have them list on the top of the iceberg. Underneath the water, which is sometimes an area that we can't easily see, right? The water is murky. We don't always know what's under there. That represents what's on the inside, what is truly being hidden on the inside of you. And sometimes my clients will say jealousy. Jealousy is under the water. It is hidden. It's under that iceberg. It's something that is triggering my anger, my feelings of shame, the fact that I blame, the fact that I get so upset. Jealousy is at the core, So, all of that, all of those emotions can drive jealousy for sure. And it can maintain it. It can maintain it. Yeah. 4514 Rooster, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. We're going to wrap up here in a little bit. Says, yes, it's like a switch in their face. Yeah. Their affect. That's what we call it clinically. How they present, when it comes to their face, their eye contact. Kyra knows 144 says, big old factuals. Yeah. I hate that too. Right, guys? Joshua Ancelone, I hope I'm saying that correct. Welcome to tonight's live chat. Glad to have you back. Yeah. Fairy girl, I'm just looking at your comment. I'm going to put this up here for you guys so you can see it. While I take a sip of water. Yeah. Yeah, fairy girl, that is just, yeah. Okay, let me go back to the comments. Access to Rome, hello, welcome. Glad to have you, and thank you so much for that. That's that is very kind. Thank you. Kin One Warfill says, I detached. I must low my frequency extremely. It's so heartbreaking. I don't like that feeling at all. I think I understand what you're saying, Kin One Warfill. And sometimes you have to do that with these kind of people. Lay low. Take the low road. I think that's what I'm seeing you say. Okay. Get noticed with Nikki, excuse me, says, my parents have no relationships with their grandchildren due to my dad being an alcoholic. and my mom a hoarder. It's so sad to witness this, especially now that I live with my parents. Yeah, absolutely. I bet it is. Let me just say too, guys, that sometimes individuals who hoard, you can kind of search around under the surface with that person to figure out what's the emotion that's driving this, right? Is this a person who's obsessive? Is this a person who is jealous? Is this a person who is compulsive? Is this a person who gets stuck in their mind and in their head? Is this a person who always wanted to be successful but could not, and so therefore they're kind of saying all of this is mine and it's going to go nowhere? Is this a person who's been ousted or rejected or ostracized, and so therefore they're keeping all the material things they can? I once had a client who was very, very jealous of her brother. And what she did as an unconscious thing was hoard. She had so many albums. One time I made a house visit just because she's an older woman. And I'm like, okay. Uh, I've never seen this before. This is a level of interesting that I've never seen before. School didn't prepare me for this one. And this poor lady, she was just so sad because her brother kind of pushed her outside of the family. He was jealous of her. She was very intelligent, got good grades, made a lot of money at a certain point in her life. And her brother just slowly pushed her out of the family. And that can happen to you as well. Maybe you have that jealous sibling or that jealous parent. They do not want you in the family. So what do? They slowly and maybe incrementally push you out of the family. Just one baby step at a time, you get pushed out until you're pushed out 100%. So that's what happened to my client, this lady. And she, engaged in hoarding. It kind of gave her some confidence, some security in some very interesting way. T Mac asks a fantastic question, which is, what's the difference between jealousy and envy? Jealousy. Okay, I'm going to tell you what I currently think it is. And if you guys Google it, please correct me in the chat box. My understanding, which could be totally incorrect, is that jealousy is more of a fleeting kind of an emotion that, you've heard some people say, oh my God, we're going to Hawaii. I'm so jealous, or you may have somebody that is jealous of the neighbor across the street because the neighbor has a better looking yard than you do. Or maybe you're jealous because every time you turn around, that person is pushing you into the background. It's still a toxic kind of a thing if you don't have control over it. Envy, in my mind, is more of an evil thing. It's more of I'm envious, so therefore I'm going to judge you. I'm going to harm you. I'm going to do something to you that's going to be underhanded, sneaky, and evil. That's kind of the way I've separated it. But please correct me, guys, in the chat box if I am wrong. Wild Stoic, hello and welcome to the live chat. Glad to have you. Says, what are your thoughts on a parent always telling you they aren't jealous of you, unprovoked? Well, to me, that's kind of an unconscious way of saying I am jealous of you. I think that that's what it is. Or just to be fair, it could be the parents' attempt to kind of clear the air so that you don't get those ideas, right? Doesn't necessarily mean that they're jealous of you. They just don't want you to think they are. So that could be that as well. Felicia Lewis, haven't seen you. So welcome to the live chat. Glad to have you. Says, my mother told me she would never love my daughter that I was pregnant with like she loved my son. And later that she would have to get a nose job like her father. Oh God, that is toxic. I don't know if that's jealous, but that is toxic. Sounds like there's some issues there. Eartha Page, hello and welcome to the live chat. We're going to sign off here in just a little bit. Glad to have you. Says, my siblings and mother have more than me materially, but they hate that I have emotion. Yeah, good point. They are so cold, hateful, apathetic. Yep, numb. Apathetic is numb, for those of you who aren't aware. Because sometimes I'll look at the word apathetic. I'm like, what does that mean again? So you're saying that they are cold, hateful, and apathetic to everyone in life. Having a heart and soul is most important to me. Same here. And so sometimes people can just be jealous of that. Some people can also, parents and siblings can also just simply be jealous. Also, Eartha Page, because you're intelligent. It's how that mind of yours kind of looks at life and flips and turns things around, and they can't handle that. Um, Give it a think. Oh, I like that. Welcome to the live chat. Glad to have you. Says developing boundaries got me exiled by my dysfunctional siblings and father. Yeah, the nerve of me to have a self. Yeah, absolutely. Either the boundary came out of nowhere for them and they were shocked, or the boundary put them in their place and they couldn't handle it. Either way, you had to do it, obviously. Silent Walk, hello. Glad to have you in tonight's live chat and welcome. We're going to wrap up here in just a little bit. Deborah Pina, hello, or Penna. Glad to have you back. I haven't seen you in a little while. Glad to see you. Fairy Girl, I'm going to put that up there on the screen. There we go. Lauren Knight, I'm going to come back to you. Says, I literally felt you can't sit with us energy my entire life. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for educating me. You're welcome. You're welcome. Alliances, episodic sibling jealousy, parental jealousy. You're literally speaking to my soul. Thank you. Yes, you're welcome. So glad to hear that. That's humbling for me to hear. Because then that means I need to produce more content like this for you. So, and for all of you here. So thank you for that. Very glad to hear that. Henry Henderson says, I'm welcome to the live chat, by the way, says I'm dealing with this. Yeah, it's very difficult. BB Joyce, hello and welcome to the live chat. We're going to sign off here in a little bit, but I'm glad to have you. Says mom and sibling are aggressive towards me. The entitled sibling copies everything I do. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Keep in mind that the entitled sibling may copy everything you do because they're also jealous of you. So that's a possibility too, BB Joyce. Erica Garden says, how would you confirm that? Not sure if you're talking to me. So if you are, bring that back to me in the comments section and I'm happy to answer it. No place I'd rather be. Hello and welcome. I like that. I'm glad to have you back in tonight's live chat. Ken Warfield, whoa, Ken One Warfield says, take your power back. Love from a distance, move on with your beautiful life. That's interesting. Thank you for that. Because sometimes you just have to, right? Sometimes you can't stop the sibling or the parent from being jealous. That is who they are. Sometimes jealousy. Remember, I talked about the weeds at the beginning of this live chat, that they are hard to get up. You can cut them, you can put bleach over them, Dawn soap, whatever. You can even stomp on them, snatch them up out of the ground. You can even put salt in there. Doesn't mean you're going to kill the weeds. Jealousy is the same way. So sometimes the only way to disrupt the jealousy of the parent or the sibling is to back off and say, you know what, I'm going to put this boundary up, and this is as far as I'm going with you. Don't expect me to go any further because you've already shown me what you're like. MJ Spy T777, hello and welcome to the live chat. Glad to have you. I love that. That picture there is your icon. She says, realizing that your mother has been jealous of you all of your life is heartbreaking. The gaslighting for so many years. Yeah, absolutely. Realizing that a parent, especially a mother, is jealous is really difficult because the constant theme of a mother is the Mother's Day theme, right? That moms are pure and loving and giving and selfless, and the list goes on, right? So to think that they are jealous is hard to wrap your mind around. It's unfathomable. JD Goody says, I have dealt with that all my life. My mother even encouraged my siblings to be jealous of me. My mother gaslit me all my life. She even helped my ex take my children from me. No contact at 60. Yeah, that's horrible. Horrible. I'm sorry that that's happened. Fairy Girl says some fams can be real whack. I have much compassion for all y'all sorting through the remains. Oh, that's a good comment. Thank you, Fairy Girl. I like it. Napalm 1334 says, welcome to the chat, by the way, says very relatable. I'm the only sibling to get to university and my family sabotages me. Just mom and brother. Dad was supportive, but he died a while ago. I'm so sorry to hear that, Napalm 1334. That's very sad. Let me just say that sabotaging can happen with a parent as well who's jealous. A parent can sabotage you way more sneakily than a sibling because we don't, again, expect moms to be jealous. The other piece of that is a parent is at the top of everything we do, right? Growing up, the parent is the transportation. The parent is the one who signs you up for activities and extracurriculars. The parent is the one who moves you to different neighborhoods and locations and schools. The parent is the one who says yes or no to friends or contact with other people, right? The parent is the one who makes the ultimate decisions on your life. The way they can sabotage you, and some research in psychology has highlighted this, is by making decisions against your best will or interest. I'm sorry. Let me repeat that. It's making decisions against what is in your best interest. And jealous parents can do that. And they can do it in a way that is very subtle. It's easy for them to get away with because nobody's looking at them, right? Well, everybody's looking over here at the jealous sibling. Jealous mom is over here doing things that's not okay, right? Saying things that's not okay. If you guys have ever seen the movie Mommy Dearest, where the mom wanted to be this fantastic celebrity and she was jealous of her daughter and she would harm her daughter through comments, behaviors, how she would talk to her, how she would use her body language. She was very oppositional towards her daughter, and it was all out of psychotic jealousy. And yes, that's a term, psychotic jealousy. Mike, welcome. Glad to have you in tonight's live chat. Says transform from survivor to thriver. Yeah, I like that a lot. Awesome. Silent Walk says it's really bad when you're trying to tell your family truth and everyone's believing all the lies the wife, mom is telling, and they completely side with her. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Silent Walk, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to click off on that. Yes, absolutely. I don't know about your mom being jealous or maybe your sibling, but sometimes moms can side with people who are against you just because they're jealous of you as well. I had a client relationship like that years ago where the mom was siding with the husband and not the daughter who was the wife. Mike, thank you for that. Shout out right back at you. Respect, says Fairy Girl. Glad to see that. T Riggs, hello and welcome. Glad to have you in tonight's live chat. All right, guys, I see a lot of you still commenting. So glad to have you. I think we should sign off now. I need to come back with this topic, don't I? You guys may want to learn how to heal from this. So I'm actually taking a few days off. This is actually my birthday weekend, believe it or not. I'm not going to tell you how old I am. I'm not going to tell you that. I'll just tell you I'm over 35. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. But it is my birthday weekend, so I'm going to try to take some time off. But I'll definitely let you guys know, okay, just so you know. And if I come back tomorrow with a live chat, just know it'll be about how to overcome this, because I do have that stacked on the shelf for you. Let me just answer a couple more comments. We're going to sign off, guys. Amber M. Wolfies Lights, hello and welcome. Glad to have you in tonight's live chat. Says, I was just asking for some guidance on this very thing. My mom and sister both. My entire life. Being able to accept it is almost as hard as living through it. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's why anytime I have a client who's struggling with a jealous sibling or a jealous mom, I really do try my best to teach that client to take baby steps in awareness. Take baby steps as you start to understand what has happened to you. It's a process. C, hello and welcome. Glad to have you in tonight's live chat. Says competition with your children is crazy. Yeah, it is. She twists my sisters too. One day they nice, then evil. What is that? Yeah, it can be jealousy. It could also be a don't forget that triangle, guys. And for those of you who just signed on, it could definitely be that jealousy triangle, that interpersonal jealousy system, where there's a jealous person, there's a beloved sibling or a beloved sibling, and then there's a rival sibling. There's a jealous person, a rival, and the beloved. And so that triangle, that interpersonal jealousy system can happen. One day your siblings for you, the next day they're not, because they're in a triangle. And sometimes that jealous child plays off of the parent's jealousy, and that makes it even worse. Sun and Sunflower says, my mother, when she was alive, would always allow my sister, who is 1 year younger, to bully me. Nothing has changed decades later. Went no contact. My Lord. I'm so sad. I'm sorry to hear that. That's a difficult dynamic. Jessica J, hello and welcome to the live chat. Glad to have you. Says, mother-in-law went into a rage when she found out sis-in-law was going to sell our house and buy a new one. She stopped sis-in-law helping us. Yeah. I don't know if that's jealousy, but I'm guessing, Jessica J, you're seeing it as jealousy or observing it as jealousy. Jealousy doesn't always have to be visual either, guys. And you know that, right? It's like you can sense that, you can feel that in your soul. All right, we're at 7:32, guys. Let's call it a night. Let's pause here. Let me know in the chat box if you want me to come back tomorrow. I may or may not. It just depends on how my Saturday goes. We'll see. But be on the lookout. Let me know if you want me to talk about overcoming this family jealousy. I'm happy to drop some new terms, give you some insights on what the research says, because guess what, guys? You can't just Google this topic. I tried it last night because I wanted to see, can you guys Google some of these things? And no, if you Google parents who are jealous of their children, you will literally get blogs or posts from maybe one therapist, maybe one social worker, an attorney, but the research is pretty in-depth and difficult to find online. So let me know if you want me to come back and talk about ways to deal with this, guys. Thank you so much for being with me in tonight's live chat. I need to go get some water, some food or something, or go to sleep. I will see you guys soon. I hope you have a very peaceful Memorial Day that is meaningful, which means a Memorial Day focused on what it's really about. So I'll see you guys soon. Good night.